Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Om Shri Radhe Govind Bhagwad ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, I think we're beginning on verse 16 today.
Yeah, let's try 16.
10:16. You're on 9.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
16.
Yeah.
That's 10.
I'm one chapter
10.
behind.
It's a good chapter, though. But aye, there we are.
Vaktur Mahasya Seshena Divyaratma Vibhutaya Yabhir Vibhuti Bhiloka Nimastvam Vyapyatistasi. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds.
In this verse, it appears that Arjuna is already satisfied with his understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. By Krishna's grace, Arjuna has personal experience, intelligence, and knowledge, and whatever else a person may have. And through all these agencies, he has understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For him, there is no doubt, yet he is asking Krishna to explain his all-pervading nature. People in general, and the impersonalists in particular, concern themselves mainly with the all-pervading nature of the Supreme. So Arjuna is asking Krishna how he exists in his all-pervading aspect through his different energies. One should know that this is being asked by Arjuna on behalf of the common people. So, questions or thoughts? Mahatma Ji?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Madhavaji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat. Dandavat. Pranam to all of you. Nice seeing you all.
We can't see you tonight. Where's your camera?
Oh, my camera?
Yeah, all we see is your name, Mahatam Singh at Yahoo.
No, I think I see you.
Yeah, but I don't see you.
Shaburi is not giving his darshan today.
No darshan.
Sometimes I am bodiless.
This is impersonalism.
Sometimes I have no formless.
Yeah, that is why Arjuna is asking how you are all pervading through your different energies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Madhava is all pervading tonight.
Yeah. So
that's why his name is also Madhav Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So all these manifestations basically living, non-living, and every atom. That's how he expands. He expands with all of us around here. That's what I understand. He manifests in all these forms and non-forms which we cannot see, which will be the energy, the form. Like even scientists know there's a matter and an energy exchange. So nothing is destroyed, it's just conversion. So he's existing in manifested and non-manifested forms. That's what I understand.
I think that is a point that we're moving into this whole section of the 10th chapter. But I think it's also interesting here in this particular verse that Prabhupada's making the point that it's really Arjuna doesn't need to know anything. Because of his personal experience, his intelligence, his knowledge, he understands everything perfectly clearly. But since the people in general and the impersonalists in particular, they always think of the Lord as having some sort of non-corporeal existence, that Arjuna is asking questions, just as Madhava is saying, to show how he manifests himself in this world, so that people can understand that the things they see in this world are actually Krishna, or Krishna's energy, so they can see Krishna in the things of this world. So Arjuna is asking Krishna how he exists in his all-pervading aspect through his different energies. And he's doing this not because he needs to know, but especially because of those persons who are attached to this impersonalist conception need to know. So this is kind of a lead-up verse here to when Krishna starts
and also
speaking about his vibhutis.
Also to help people understand how they can find Krishna in so many manifestations. So Krishna himself is going to be talking about who he is or how he manifests. That when people see that manifestation, they can think of him.
So one example, of course, we will come back and later, of course, we'll study in this chapter, but he demonstrated Krishna many, many times as Hiranyakashipu. He came from that pillar. So it's a non-animate thing, non-living pillar, but he manifests out of that pillar. So I I wanted to say this. So
no, that's a good point.
We can move on.
Well, what's interesting is that we get this in the Bhagavad Gita in the earlier chapters. I'm the light of the sun and the moon, the strength of the strong, I'm the ability in man. Different ways that I'm the taste of water. These are the different ways we can understand that Krishna pervades everything. Interesting enough, like Prabhupada said, who hasn't tasted water? So if we taste water and think that this water is Krishna's mercy, his energy, and that the good taste of the water and that the quenching of the thirst is Krishna's mercy, and so that becomes in a sense a word. It's called an udipana. It's the way of remembering Krishna. It stimulates our connection with him.
Isn't it so interesting that he provides, Prabhuji, as you gave example, taste in water and all this, how merciful he is that he provides unlimited opportunity for us to remember every moment, in fact, by these things which is around us.
It's because we turn our back to Krishna, Bahirmukha. We have this desire to try to pretend that there's no connection with Krishna, so that people then they don't see, because they willfully don't want to see. Prabhupada said even a person who drinks wine, if they say that Krishna is the taste of the wine, they're going to have some remembrance of Krishna. Not we recommend that, but still. If we go to the next verse, I think the next verse will launch more into this idea.
Katham vidyamaham yogim istvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chinto asi bhagwan maya. So, O Krishna, O supreme mystic, how shall I constantly think of you? And how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? Mataji?
As it is stated in the previous chapter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is covered by his Yoga Maya. Only surrendered souls and devotees can see him. Now Arjuna is convinced that his friend Krishna is the Supreme Godhead, but he wants to know the general process by which the all-pervading Lord can be understood by the common man. Common men, including the demons and atheists, cannot know Krishna because he is guarded by his Yoga Maya energy. Again, these questions are asked by Arjuna for their benefit. The superior devotee is concerned not only for his own understanding, but for the understanding of all mankind.
Deval? Deval?
Protected by the Yoga Maya energy. Very good point.
Yes. So Arjun, out of his mercy, because he is a Vaishnava, a devotee, is opening for the common man the understanding of the all-pervasiveness of the Supreme Lord. He addresses Krishna specifically as Yogin, because Sri Krishna is the master of the Yoga Maya energy, by which he is covered and uncovered to the common man. The common man who has no love for Krishna cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore, he has to think materially. Arjuna is considering the mode of thinking of the materialistic persons of this world. The word keshu keshu cha bhaveshu refers to the material nature. The word bhava means physical things. Because materialistics cannot understand Krishna spiritually, they are advised to concentrate the mind on physical things and try to see how Krishna is manifested by physical representations.
Yeah. There's a word here used twice. Refers to the energy of Krishna. The English word in the purport. Well, it's not an English word. It's a Sanskrit word, but it's used in a kind of an English context here. It's used twice. Yoga Maya. So Krishna is protected by his, Prabhupada says, by his Yoga Maya. Guarded. He's guarded. We are separated from, in other words, it says here that he is guarded by his Yoga Maya. The common men can't understand him because he's guarded by his Yoga Maya energy. And then later on, it says specifically Arjuna addresses Krishna specifically as Yogin because Sri Krishna is the master of the Yoga Maya energy by which he is covered and uncovered to the common man. So what is this Yoga Maya? Does anybody know? This is it's an interesting question because we'll talk about another kind of Maya too. We usually, when we think Maya, what do we think? If you're online, you're right.
Delusion?
Material energy.
Yeah, yes. Now Mahamaya is material energy, and it could be considered, I think Deval said, delusional. Yeah, we become deluded by this energy. And who can name what Mahamaya, name how we're deluded by Mahamaya. When we say someone's in Maya, what are we saying?
They're attached to the physical body?
Yeah, they're attached to the physical body. Prabhupada would say they think they're a man or a woman or an American or a Russian. Anything else that happens when you're in Maya and you're attached to the physical body?
am this body.
Yeah, you want to get physical pleasures.
Yeah, I am
Like,
this body.
I am this
I
body.
am
So
this body. Yeah.
I'm going to eat. I'm going to sleep. I want sex. I want, power. I want to be president. I want to be the fastest person, the most beautiful person. I'm all wrapped up in my body, some level.
Which we're not.
Which we're not, mind or senses. So that's Mahamaya, and that's the world we're in now. That's why we have these crazy elections and these wars, and we can, all the stuff that's going on. Some of it good, most of it bad lately. That's all part of this Mahamaya, this great play of illusion that we are in, thinking that I'm somehow or another the center of something. I'd like to be center of the whole world, but I'll settle for being center of my friends or my family or something. Or as Prabhupada said, if nothing else, I'll buy a dog, and the dog will, and the dog will like me. So that's Mahamaya. But Krishna is speaking here about Yogamaya. So what is Yogamaya? And he says he's guarded by Yogamaya. It's also it's also illusion or a covering, but it's a different kind of covering. What is it?
It's spiritual energy.
Yes, it's a spiritual energy. It's Krishna's, what sometimes we call Swarup Shakti, his internal potency. It's the world of Krishna and his friends and his associates and his lovers and cowherd boyfriends, and on other planets, Narayan's there. There's different varieties. It's in the spiritual world, and it says here that this Yogamaya, it guards against people like us who are in illusion from ever seeing him. So that it's sort of like there's a verse in the Ishopanishad. It says that let me find it. Let me just find this verse from the Ishopanishad, because it's an interesting verse that talks about the blinding effulgence of the Lord and how it makes it impossible for one to see the Supreme Lord. It's here. It's, I think, verse 17 or later than that. Oh, yes. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. So, we can't see Krishna because he's just covered by this for us. But for those who are pure, they're playing in that energy with him. So it's an interesting thing that Prabhupada has made a point of highlighting that word twice in this purport, because he's trying to tell us what's really important. It's not the things in the outside in this world, but it's Krishna and his energy in the spiritual world. I've said too much, so someone's got some other thoughts.
Well, the question is, Krishna, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? So we have to go back to, not go back, but to go forward to chapter 18. There are several verses in the Bhagavad Gita, but this one is very pointed. Verse 55, Bhaktimam abjanati yavan yaschasmi tadvataha tatamam tadvato kyadva vishate tat anantaram. Where Krishna says, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Now, in this chapter 10, he's going to be talking about different manifestations by which one can remember Krishna. But to understand him as the Supreme Lord of everything, the only way that we can understand Krishna is fully at the highest level, is by bhakti, by pure bhakti. And so he's saying that himself in the Bhagavad Gita in several verses, and this one is one of them. Chapter 18, verse 55, very important verse.
Any questions about this verse? It's getting us ready to see these different opulences.
What does bhava mean here? it says here the bhava means physical things, but bhava in a very colloquial way, we think of more cerebral thoughts. So does it mean that cerebral things and physical things are interchangeable in the world of, or in the sphere of Krishna?
Well, bhava, I think, means some existence. So anything that is existent is something. Could be a person, could be a physical item, or the word bhava has different meanings, but the primary meaning means existence.
He uses the word nature here, bhaveshu, natures.
Yeah. And then swabhava, swabhav, is one's intrinsic nature. Like the intrinsic nature of the person is to of the Supreme in love, not service in the negative way, but in the very positive way.
Yeah.
So this word has different meanings, because I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but
yeah. Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
There's also a place here in the purport, and it's interesting how Prabhupada really brings he brings different highlights, his own thoughts into the whole study of the verse. He says here that so Arjuna, out of his mercy, because he is a Vaishnava, a devotee, is opening for the common man the understanding of the all-pervasiveness of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada's making a point here that the devotee, like Arjuna, has compassion upon persons who are not able to understand God. And it's because of the compassion of the devotee that the understanding of the nature of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, is opened by the devotee's mercy. So here, Arjuna, he's in a sense, and I'm part of a common man, or he's playing dumb, so to speak. Tell me these things that I already know, so that he can open up a whole channel of spiritual enlightenment to common people. This is the mercy of the devotee.
I need to say something.
Yeah.
Also, it says here, cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore, he has to think materially. That's why Arjuna is asking Krishna to talk about his vibhutis, and he's mostly referring to the material items, material existence.
Yeah, we'll see.
And Arjuna is he's taking into consideration how the materialistic persons think, so that these, like my husband is saying, can be opened up to the persons in general through matter, through examples of matter that will eventually come to a higher and higher level of sophistication to come into the thinking of the spiritual person. But through matter, and Krishna is going to be explaining, you can see me this way and this way and this way, to enable the common man to connect at some level, even if it is very rudimentary.
It's almost a matter of poetry, in the sense that poetry points to things greater through metaphor. I mean, so these physical things are like metaphors for the spiritual world. They're doors. And this is what's important to understand here is that these are the modern scientific understanding, which tries to deconstruct everything into its smallest part, atoms and quarks and tiny little elements of nature, takes away this divine presence from the things in this world, and therefore it's really rather destructive. So that what Krishna is doing here, what he'll hear him do later when he speaks about his opulences, I explain to Arjuna, see the things in this world not as little, disconnected, unimportant or random things,
yeah.
But see them as connected to the universal organizing principle, which is me. And that way you'll become God conscious. And it's really quite merciful and kind of an amazing way to understand the relationship that we have with God.
The principle is that there is Krishna and Krishna's energies. That's it. Everything that we see is either Krishna or Krishna's energies. There is nothing that exists that is not part of Krishna.
One way or another.
Yeah.
Got it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for the good questions. Thanks for the input for everybody who's like Madhavaji. That's great. I guess 18.
Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuyah katayah triptirhi shinvato nasti me amritam. O Janardhan, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. Sonali? Sonali?
Sorry. One can never be satiated even though, oh sorry, I missed it. A similar statement was made in Sutta Goswami by the rishis of Naimisaranya, headed by Sunaka. That statement is, Vayam tu na vitrapayama uttama shloka vikrame yach sharnavatam rasa jnanam swadu pade pade. One can never be satiated even though one continuously hears the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who is glorified by excellent prayers. Those who have entered into a transcendental relationship with Krishna relish at every step the descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.19. Thus, Arjuna is interested in hearing about Krishna, and especially how he remains as the all-pervading Supreme Lord.
Shyam?
Now, as far as Amritam, nectar, is concerned, any narration or statement concerning Krishna is just like nectar. And this nectar can be perceived by practical experience, modern stories, fictions, and histories are different from the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, in that one will tire of hearing mundane stories, but one never tires of hearing about Krishna. It is for this reason only that the history of the whole universe is replete with references to the pastimes of the incarnations of Godhead. The Puranas are histories of bygone ages that relate the pastimes of the various incarnations of the Lord. In this way, the reading matter remains forever fresh despite repeated readings.
Shrinvato nasti me mritam. The last line of the verse. Hearing, or you can even go past. Tripti shrinvata naasti me amritam. There, you just don't become tired by hearing the amritam of the Lord. Naasti. There is not any way you can be tired of hearing my amritam. So that's nectar. Shrinvatam swakata Krishnam punyasravanam kirtanam. This is in itself a pious activity just to hear about Krishna. And we hear Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Shravanam and Shrinvatam, they're related. Hearing about Krishna. So this is very important.
and hearing Krishna's words, because Arjuna is asking Krishna to speak. And he's saying, nobody can ever get tired of hearing your sweet words. So full of wisdom, and so full of kindness, and so full of love, and so full of mercy.
Yeah.
So does anybody have some thoughts or questions
Yeah.
about this? This is
So,
there's a nice verse you've heard it. Yes, Jendra.
so it's not only just like us, but actually, like as it's stated here, the rishis at Nemisaranya. So Nemisaranya is the place where Sud Goswami ji recites the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole of 18,000 shloks. And the Sonak Muni is the one who is the head of all those rishis who wants to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from Sri Sud Goswami ji, because Sud Goswami ji was present when Sukdev Goswami ji was reciting his to Maharaj Parikshit. Right? So
Right.
the point is that all these rishis are also saying that one can never be saturated even through one continuously hears about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. So all these supreme topmost rishis are also asking again and again to hear about Lord Krishna. Just wanted to bring that point.
Absolutely. This process of hearing about Krishna is the topmost process for become purified and understanding our relationship with Krishna.
Hearing and chanting.
Hearing and chanting. If we go to the the second chapter of the first canto, second chapter, we can read verses 17 to 1 to 17, 1 to 17, 1 to 18, and 1 to 19. 1 to 17, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Then the next verse, 18. You can read.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead was praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. And the next one.
As soon as it...
Wait.
Oh,
okay. The next one. The next verse?
Yeah.
19.
19.
Yeah.
As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, hankering disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. So these three verses, they build on exactly what we've been just saying from this verse, which speaks about the fact that, let me get to it, that
Your nectarian words.
oh, Janard, I never tire your nectarian words because I want to taste it more and more. So this is a theme running through all the scriptures, and it makes it very easy because, as Prabhupada says, now as far as Amrita, nectar is concerned, any narration or statement concerning Krishna is just like nectar, and this nectar can be perceived by practical experience. So if we just simply make a point, as Gajendra has his class, his reading on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have our classes of Bhagavatam in the morning, and Rudrani and I do a reading group, and there's so many devotees doing groups of reading and hearing about Krishna all over this area, just different, Ditya Narayan does some groups, and I mean, can't even count them all. If we do, yeah, Bhira Krishna Maharaj gives class every evening on the nectar of devotion now. By simply engaging in this activity of hearing these narrations, this nectar cleanses our hearts, and it is this nectar which gives us a taste for serving Krishna. And it's it may seem counterintuitive. How can it be so easy? It's not so easy, but it is something. If we do it, we will see the effects in our life. We become peaceful, we become happy, we become focused, because Krishna is cleansing our chitta. That is the mere cheto darpana marjanam. First the words of the Chikshasika, that it cleanses the mirror of the mind of all dirty things, and we become peaceful and happy.
And then a desire to attain love for the Supreme keeps growing and growing. And we don't know what we've done in previous lives, but when we hear these things, something kind of wakes up inside of us. And the more we hear, the more this, which we cultivated before, becomes more present in our lives. And one time, eventually in the course of time, will take over. And all we will want to do is just be completely absorbed in the process of devotion, completely, 100%.
Any thoughts or questions? We may be able to go to the next verse. There's not so much time, but.
Yeah, so I think in conclusion, keep drinking this nectar.
Yes.
Don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Keep
actually,
drinking. Keep drinking. Become a drunkard, the best.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes, by drinking the nectar, we become purified. I'm actually going to see something here.
So the two main processes of devotional service are hearing and chanting. So we know about chanting. We've done a lot of chanting. We will continue to do chanting. But we also need to know that part of it is hearing. And as we go through the Srimad Bhagavatam, we will see that repeatedly throughout the whole text, all these 18,000 verses, the process of hearing and the process of chanting are recommended from beginning to end. In fact, the last verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam is exclusively presenting the power of the holy name in chanting with other devotees. And this is like sum and substance of the whole Bhagavatam, because it's the closing argument that's being made. And also the final verse of the canto, the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, is all about the power of hearing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So we have the hearing and the chanting. Together is the perfect formula. But hearing and chanting by the blessings of the superior devotees will have realization of all these things. They're not speaking just because they have book knowledge, it's because they have actual realization.
And there's another verse I'll read. It's from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13, verse 50. It says, "Who other than one who is not a human being can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? Who can refuse the nectar of the narrations about the personality of Godhead's activities, which by itself can deliver one from all material pangs?" And Prabhupada writes, the narration of the activities of the personality of Godhead is like a constant flow of nectar. No one can refuse to drink such nectar except one who is not a human being. So if we're a human being, devotional service to the Lord is the highest goal of life for every human being, and such devotional service begins by hearing about the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. So let's hear about the Lord and gather together like this on our little computers and phones for Zoom, and eventually, hopefully, in the same room. But that way, we're sharing.
And we can do that in our own homes with our own families.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every evening spend some time hearing a little kirtan, reading a little bit from the Bhagwad Gita, having questions and answers and exchanges and realizations. It's available to anyone who has a little time or who can devote a little time to this fantastic, phenomenal process of hearing and chanting.
I actually, one of my godbrothers many years ago, it's like 40 years ago, he told me this. He said that if we can just take a half hour a day to read something like Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, just find a little time, a half hour a day of just without any pressure, without any, I'm not trying to learn something or to accomplish something. I just want to sit down and be with the words of the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita and of Prabhupada. We just take that half hour a day, our life will be transformed.
Yeah.
9 to 9:43.
And that's me. Night Owl program.
Thank you for offering that opportunity.
Yeah, but it's great that you do
it's
it.
Invaluable. There's no way to describe how valuable that is.
And you can watch Mangal Artik at 7 o'clock in the evening in Mayapur too. So, thank for the time zones. There's something happening always.
Want to do one more verse, Prabhuji?
I think probably we should stop. It's 5 of 8 now.
Okay.
Don't we? You want to do the kirtan? I think if we do another verse, we'll have to cut it short.
Yeah, maybe better just to hear some kirtan or bhajan.
Let's have a nice bhajan or kirtan now.
Okay.
You can have a little longer one, maybe 8 or 9 minutes.
Whatever he wants to do is fine.
Oh.
How did everybody like the discussion tonight?
Blissful.
I'm glad it was. I think we had some nice questions and some input.
How can we describe nectar?
How can we describe nectar? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, he's wonderful, this devotee. These wonderful kirtans.
Who is he?
You'll know when you hear
This
him.
Pikshava, Karunika.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Oops.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
lives.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Very wonderful week also. Think of Krishna all the time.
And
Hare
you know,
Krishna.
I was going to bring up one thing about when we talk about how to measure spiritual life, and the most important thing, how to measure spiritual life. One time Prabhupada was asked if there's any instrument can measure spiritual life, and he said, yes, those instruments are the mridanga and the kartals. So it's our kirtan. It's hearing and chanting, and we just do that, we'll be happy. It's a wonderful thing. So thank you so much for Gajendra ji for again hosting.
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll see you next week. Haribol.
Haribol.
Thank you, Gajendra ji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare